The story of the vanishing hitchhiker begins with an atmosphere thick with isolation and unease. The setting is crucial, a winding road far from the safety of town where the glow of streetlights has long faded into darkness. It's the kind of road where the trees loom like silent watchers, their branches casting skeletal shadows across the asphalt. The time is always late, the hour when most sensible people are home behind locked doors, leaving only the desperate or the reckless out in the night. Weather often plays a role, heightening the sense of vulnerability. Rain lashes against the windshield, turning the road into a slick, reflective ribbon, or fog creeps in, swallowing the edges of the headlight's reach. The driver, perhaps a weary traveler, a trucker on a long haul, or just someone who stayed out too late, is alone, the hum of the engine and the rhythmic swish of the wipers the only sounds. There's no cell service here, no quick help if something goes wrong. Then, movement. A figure appears at the edge of the road, barely visible until the headlights catch them. The hitchhiker stands there, often a young woman, though sometimes a spectral child or an old man, their clothes oddly out of place, too light for the cold or strangely dated, as if from another era. They might be drenched, as if they've been waiting in the storm for hours, or eerily dry despite the downpour. Their posture suggests distress, arms clutched around themselves, head bowed, but when they look up, there's something unsettling in their gaze. The driver hesitates. Every instinct warns against stopping, but pity or curiosity wins out. Maybe it's the late hour, the loneliness of the road, or some deeper, unconscious pull. The window rolls down, cold air rushes in. The hitchhiker's voice, when they speak, is soft, almost distant, as if carried on the wind rather than formed by human breath. They ask for a ride, just up the road, not far. And with that, the story is set in motion, the first step into a world where the rules of reality begin to fray. This opening scene is masterful in its simplicity. It taps into universal fears, being alone, being watched, the dread of the unknown figure in the dark. The road, a symbol of journey and transition, becomes a liminal space where the living and the dead might briefly cross paths. By the time the hitchhiker slips into the car, the audience already feels the chill of something unnatural, even if they can't quite name it yet. The stage is set for the inevitable disappearance, the moment when the solid world gives way to the inexplicable, the moment the car slows to a stop, an unspoken tension lingers in the air. The driver's hesitation is palpable, a split-second war between instinct and compassion. Something about this stranger feels off, but the late hour, the relentless weather, or some deep-seated human urge to help overrides caution. The door unlocks with a heavy click, sealing an unspoken pact between the living and something far stranger. The hitchhiker slides into the passenger seat, bringing with them an unnatural chill, as though the cold from outside has clung to their very being. The interior of the car, once a warm, private sanctuary, now feels charged with an eerie stillness. The stranger's clothes might be damp, as if they've been walking through the rain for hours, yet they don't shiver. Or perhaps their outfit is oddly out of time. A vintage dress, a military uniform from a forgotten war, a style decades out of fashion. When they speak, their voice is distant, almost hollow, as if reaching the driver from across a great expanse, rather than just the other side of the car. Their words are polite but vague. They give an address, sometimes a house, sometimes a cemetery, sometimes just up the road a little further, but never a full explanation. If the driver asks questions, the answers are evasive, spoken with the quiet certainty of someone who knows exactly where they're going, but isn't in a hurry to explain why. There's an unsettling politeness to them, a formality that feels out of place in the casual act of hitchhiking. They might thank the driver with an odd phrase, "You're kinder than most," or "It's been so long since someone stopped." Their hands, if they're visible at all, might be unnaturally pale, the skin almost translucent. If they touch anything, the seat, the dashboard, there's no warmth left behind, only a lingering dampness like morning dew on a gravestone. The driver, now committed to the ride, tries to shake off the growing unease. Maybe they turn up the radio, only for it to crackle with static or play an old song that shouldn't still be on the air. Maybe they make small talk, filling the silence with nervous chatter, while the hitchhiker responds in monosyllables or not at all. The road stretches ahead, the headlights cutting through the dark, but the atmosphere inside the car has shifted. The kindness of the pickup now feels like a mistake, one that can't be undone. By the time the next scene unfolds, the driver is already trapped in something they don't yet understand, hurtling toward a revelation that will unravel their grip on reality. The hitchhiker, calm and silent, is no longer just a passenger. They are a mystery waiting to be solved, or a warning waiting to be understood. As the car moves forward, the atmosphere inside grows heavier, as though the very air has thickened with something unspoken. The hitchhiker sits perfectly still, their presence both unsettling and strangely passive, like a shadow given human form. The driver's initial relief at having company on this lonely road begins to curdle into something else, a creeping suspicion that they are not alone in the way they had hoped. The hitchhiker's silence is unnatural. Most passengers would fidget, make small talk, or at least glance out the window, but this one seems almost detached from the act of travel itself. Their gaze, when the driver dares to glance over, is fixed on some distant point beyond the windshield, as if they are watching not the road ahead but something else entirely, something the driver cannot see. Their breathing, if they breathe at all, is imperceptible, lost beneath the hum of the engine. Then, the small, uncanny details begin to pile up. The temperature in the car drops, not gradually but suddenly, as though a door has been opened to a winter night. The driver might turn up the heat, but it does nothing. The cold seems to radiate from the hitchhiker themselves. If their skin is exposed, a pale hand resting on the seat, the curve of a cheek caught in the dashboard light, it looks almost waxen, too smooth, like something not quite alive. When the hitchhiker does speak, their words are sparse and weighted with odd significance. "It's colder than I remember," they might murmur, or, "You don't have to be afraid." The statements hang in the air, unanswered, because the driver doesn't know how to respond to something so quietly unsettling. The hitchhiker might mention a name, a date, or a place with no explanation, as if recalling a memory the driver isn't privy to. Then there are the things that don't add up. The hitchhiker's clothes, upon closer inspection, might be torn or stained in ways that suggest something violent. Mud caked on shoes as if from a grave, a dark patch on a sleeve that could be old blood. Or perhaps their reflection doesn't appear in the side window, no matter how many times the driver steals a glance. The radio, if it's on, might flicker between stations on its own, landing on a news broadcast from years ago, or a song that was popular the night the hitchhiker died. The driver's grip tightens on the wheel. They tell themselves there's a rational explanation. The hitchhiker is just tired, just quiet, just eccentric. But the excuses ring hollow even in their own mind. The road ahead seems longer now, the darkness beyond the headlights deeper, as though the car is no longer moving through the world, but through some liminal space between it and something else. By the time the hitchhiker vanishes, The driver is already halfway to believing the impossible. The strange behavior wasn't just a series of oddities. It was a trail of breadcrumbs, leading to a truth too terrible to speak aloud. The ride was never just a ride. It was a journey into the unknown, and the stranger in the passenger seat was never really a stranger at all. They were a message, a memory, a ghost. The moment arrives without warning, a blink of distraction, a turn of the head, the briefest lapse in attention. The driver glances away to check a road sign, adjusts the rearview mirror, or reaches to turn up the heat against the unnatural chill that has settled in the car. Just a second. Just a heartbeat. When they look back, the seat is empty. A jolt of disbelief shoots through them. The hitchhiker couldn't have opened the door. There was no sound, no rush of wind, no click of the latch. The windows were up, the car still moving at speed. Yet the passenger is simply gone, as if they were never there at all. The driver's pulse hammers as their eyes dart to the side mirror, half expecting to see a figure receding into the darkness behind them. But the road is empty. The realization dawns slowly, then all at once. Something impossible has happened. The air in the car feels different now, lighter, yet charged with an eerie stillness, as if the vanishing has left behind not just absence, but something more. A faint scent lingers. Damp earth, old perfume, the metallic tang of rain on cold stone. The seat where the hitchhiker sat might be inexplicably wet, as though soaked through by an unseen storm, or perhaps it's perfectly dry, untouched, with only a single unnerving detail out of place. A scarf neatly folded on the leather, a locket left behind on the dashboard, a child's glove resting on the console. The driver's hands tremble on the wheel. They might pull over, craning their neck to check the back seat, the floor, as if the hitchhiker could have slipped into some hidden crevice of the car. But there's nothing. No sign of struggle, no proof of existence, just the creeping certainty that what they experienced defies reason. And then, the worst thought of all, did I imagine it? But no. The proof is there, in the unnatural cold still clinging to the passenger seat, in the way the radio suddenly crackles to life with static before cutting out again. The hitchhiker was real, and yet, impossibly, they are no longer here. The road stretches ahead, but the world no longer feels solid. The driver is alone, but not truly alone, not anymore. Because whatever stepped into their car, whatever shared that silent ride, was never bound by the same rules as the living. And now it has returned to wherever it came from. Or perhaps it's still with them, unseen. The driver's foot presses harder on the accelerator, not out of urgency now, but out of a desperate need to make sense of what just happened. The empty seat beside them feels like a gaping void, a question demanding an answer. They can't shake the image of the hitchhiker's face, the hollow eyes, the too pale skin, and an unsettling thought takes root. That wasn't a person. That was something else. Driven by a mix of dread and morbid curiosity, they continue toward the address the hitchhiker had murmured. The house just up the road, the cemetery at the end of the lane. The directions replay in their mind, each word now weighted with eerie significance. The headlights cut through the dark, illuminating a mailbox, a rusted gate, a street sign that shouldn't send a chill down their spine, but it does. Then, they see it. A weathered home with darkened windows, a churchyard choked with fog, a stretch of road where the asphalt gives way to gravel, leading to a place that feels wrong even before they step out of the car. The air is too still. The night sounds, crickets, wind, the distant hum of life, have gone silent. They knock on the door, they call out. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they just stand there, staring because something in their gut already knows. Then the answer comes. An elderly woman answers, her face lined with sorrow before the driver even speaks. A groundskeeper pauses in his work, his expression shifting from confusion to grim recognition. A police officer flips open a notepad, weary but unsurprised. "You saw her, didn't you?" The words hang in the air, heavy with inevitability. And then, the truth spills out in a rush, a story decades old, a tragedy etched into local legend. The hitchhiker was never alive, not in the way the driver understood. They were a ghost, a remnant, a soul caught between worlds. A young woman killed in a crash on this very road. A soldier never made it home from war. A child who wandered too far into the dark. The proof is there if the driver dares to see it. A photograph, yellowed with age, showing the same face that had sat beside them in the car. A newspaper clipping detailing the accident, the disappearance, the unsolved mystery. A grave marker with a name. The name, the one the hitchhiker might have whispered when asked. The driver's stomach drops. Their skin prickles. The pieces click together with terrible clarity. The kindness of the ride. The unnatural chill. The way the hitchhiker seemed to know exactly where they were going. Because they'd traveled that road before. And then the final twist. "You're not the first," the keeper of the secret says. "They always pick her up near the curve. She always disappears before she gets home." The driver's breath catches. Because now they understand. They didn't just give a ride to a stranger. They met the dead. The car door slams shut behind the driver with a hollow finality, but the night's encounter clings to them like a second skin. They sit frozen behind the wheel, fingers gripping tight as if the solidity of the steering wheel might ground them back to reality. But reality has shifted. The world looks the same road, the same dark sky, yet feels irrevocably altered, as though a veil has been pulled back to reveal something vast and unseen. Their mind races, replaying every detail, the hitchhiker's unnatural stillness, the impossible chill, the way they vanished without a trace. It couldn't have happened, but it did. The proof lingers in the car with them. A faint scent of rain and old fabric lingers in the air, though the windows were never rolled down. The passenger seat is damp to the touch, as if the ghost's clothes had been soaked through with something other than water. And then there's the object, the one concrete thing left behind. A scarf, impossibly cold between their fingers. A locket that clicks open to reveal a portrait from another era. A single glove, small enough to fit a child's hand. They turn it over, examining it under the dim interior light, and that's when they see it. Initials embroidered on the cuff. A date etched inside the locket. A pattern in the fabric that matches the description from the newspaper article they were just shown. Their breath catches. This isn't just evidence, it's a relic, something that shouldn't exist, something that ties their experience to a story decades old. A sudden noise makes them jump. A twig snaps outside the car, or maybe it's just the engine cooling in the night air. But the solitude of the road now feels oppressive, as if unseen eyes watch from the tree line. They start the car with trembling hands, suddenly desperate to be anywhere else. As they pull away, the rearview mirror reflects only darkness behind them. Until, for just a fraction of a second, a pale figure seems to stand in the road watching them go. When they blink, it's gone. Days later, they'll return to the spot in daylight, rationalizing that there must be an explanation. But the road looks different under the sun, ordinary, unremarkable. The house they visited appears abandoned for years, the cemetery gates rusted shut. When they ask locals about the hitchhiker legend, some will laugh it off, while others will grow quiet and change the subject. The object they kept as proof It will vanish from their pocket or crumble to dust when they try to show it to someone, leaving them with nothing but the unshakable certainty of what they experienced. In the end, they're left with only the memory, the way the hitchhiker's voice sounded like it came from far away, the weight of their gaze in the dark, the moment the back seat light flickered as the door opened to nothing at all. They'll tell the story, sometimes as a joke, sometimes in a hushed tone, but always with that same haunted look in their eyes. Because they know the truth now. The dead walk among us, if only for a night, if only for a ride home. And once you've seen them, you can never quite look at an empty road the same way again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.